What is first this week? What do you want to cover first?
Oh God, I lost the link.
What
Okay,
is
you
the
go first.
what
I
is the
gotta get the
headline?
link back.
Let's start with maybe a big one, that Cyberpunk, despite being, so look, just for context and whatever, I had a perfectly fine Cyberpunk experience. I didn't have any issues, but I played on PC. I mean, I had some issues, but I played on PC, so those issues were few and far between. But on launch, Cyberpunk was a actual disaster on old gen consoles. You know, a big hoo-ha, big disappointment. And, you know, there were people saying, like, we're going to get our money back. And the CD Projekt Red were like, yeah, you guys can get your money back. And there's a whole PlayStation Store debacle where PlayStation like, whoa, we can't give people their money back.
Yeah, I mean, the game's still not on PSN. It's kind of crazy.
Despite all of that, the game sold 13.7 million units in 3 weeks, and only 30,000 people asked for refunds. So look, 30,000 people, it's a lot, but what is 30,000?
It's a drop in the water compared to the sales. Like, absolutely nothing.
Holy hell, that is insane.
I mean, that was probably like the cheapest PR move CD Projekt Red ever had to pay for. Like,
yeah. Like
30,000.
30,000. I mean, you could do the math now. 30,000 times $60. It's a lot of money. What is
it's like 1.8 million.
1.8 million, yeah. Which is a lot. But then I don't know, 13.7 times 60. I mean, they made like $100 million.
I mean, I think their profits for 2020 were like almost double their highest ever company profits in any year prior to that. So. Yeah, listen, it's crazy. And you know, there's a reason that they only. Okay, the call was about their 2020 results, so they're not going to talk about 2021 performance. But I would love to see what the drop off has been over like January, February, March for Cyberpunk 2077 sales, because you have to imagine that the majority of these sales were all pre-orders or you know, people buying on launch day or not really reading reviews, as most people do. You know, a lot of people completely outside of this world of games, media, and journalism. So, you know, that sort of thing takes a while to permeate the common conversations that, this thing is a bit fucked up at the moment. So, yeah, I don't think they'll get away with something like this again.
No.
I think they understand that they've made a lot of money here, but that there's going to be a lot more scrutiny with their next release.
Yeah, they have to be very careful with the next release. Look, I think not to take away from the studio, like I think their practice and their approach not cool. Like the way this game was clearly broken on launch and old gen, like that's a shit show.
Yeah.
But I do think we have to keep in mind that they do put a lot of time and effort into the games. I just sincerely hope they learn lessons from this going into the next launch of, I don't know, not only maybe setting realistic expectations, because even on that, Cyberpunk was like, it was the game that was going to set the world on fire. And while I think it was a really good game, it did not set the world on fire to me.
I mean,
least, you know.
I mean, you don't hear people even talking about it anymore.
No. Whereas I feel like Witcher 3, for example, was one of those games where even years after it came out, like people spoke about it.
Yeah.
It's like it's just talked about for years after. And I mean, Cyberpunk, look, it hasn't even been out for that long, but will it be the same sort of impact? Like, will it have the same sort of positive impact that The Witcher did? Like, I don't know. Or will people go like, oh yeah, Cyberpunk, like that was a shit show.
Yeah.
Such a letdown. Like, I don't know.
That's exactly it. Like, you know, this game almost in a way has been soured by the bad launch. So I think the next big test for them is the next gen launch. Like that is a way for them to reset. You know, if they come out of the gates with here's the Series X and PS5 versions of the game, and also here's big updates to the PC one, and it really, really like changes the game in a substantial way with regards to performance and just overall like stability, then you almost have you have like a No Man's Sky situation. Like Yeah, this game launched in a rough state, but fuck, it's really great.
It's really
now.
Good now, yeah.
And look, I think that could reestablish the tail for this game going into the future.
They've clearly made a lot of money from it, so let's see what they do in the next year or two. Because, I mean, they clearly had DLC plans, right? And even multiplayer plans, which I think
which might not be happening at all anymore.
Yeah, which have either been pushed out or can because they now need to focus their resources on, fixing the game.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, was it like a month or so ago or a few weeks ago, they released a patch where it was like, I don't know, like pages and pages and pages.
Those changed, it was so long. It was so much.
It's crazy. So they're working on it, but you'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, they have planned for the second half of this year, the next gen console launches of Cyberpunk and the patches for The Witcher 3. So, hey, if one doesn't hit, they have the other. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And let's remember, The Witcher Season 2 is coming, and again, more people are going to be like, oh, hey, this is a game I can play on my new PlayStation or Xbox.
Super stoked for that, yeah.
What do you want to move on to next? What tickles your fancy?
Celeste. The developers of Celeste, Extremely OK Games, they have revealed their next project called Earthblade, which is described as an exploration action game with a distinct pixel art style. So, I mean, the trailer they released doesn't really show anything. They call it more of a vibe reveal. The sort of like...
I'm like, that is the most hipster thing I've heard. Like, come on.
I guess, I mean, you've got this concept art that you can see now if you're watching the video version. And you've got some amazing music by Lena Raine, who did the soundtrack for Celeste. So that kind of like gives you an idea of what they're going for. I think, it looks cool. I think it's really nice that this studio is being very upfront that this game is still a while away. This is the result of I think they said this is their fourth prototype that they've kind of developed after that they're kind of going with.
That they're actually happy with and they're pursuing. So
Maddie Thorson, the director and creative director of Celeste and now of Earthblade, she they kind of said that they want to take time with this, but they settled on a prototype that they feel like they can actually complete, which I think is really important. So
I think
I'm stoked.
Yeah, likewise. And I think they were saying that there's a whole, a blog post, whatever. But Maddie was saying that they remember reading in a Reddit post or something that, Towerfall came out and then Celeste came out 5 years later, so don't hold your breath for Earthblade. And they were like, that it can be a bit disheartening to see that, but also they will really want to make a good game. So and in their defense, Celeste is all the games have been good. I think it's always difficult to, you have to temper expectations and realize that you have to follow up on this big game. It's the same we've just spoke about Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk was highly anticipated because The Witcher 3 was this massive milestone in RPGs, and I think people's expectations just ran rampant, and Cyberpunk was just it's a good game, but you have to keep in mind that developers like this think about that, holy shit, Celeste was a Game of the Year nominee, this tiny indie game up against the likes of God of War and Red Dead Redemption, and a lot of people love it. How do we follow up with not a platformer, for example? Will people be receptive to
something
this
different,
RPG or whatever the hell they're working on? It's a lot to think about. So, I love their games, and I'm very keen to see what comes out, but they can take their time. No rush.
100%. And they've been working on prototypes since Celeste, as they indicate in the blog post, but they also added a lot of content to Celeste. So
that DLC was a full-on sequel, almost a sequel. Really. Yeah. And early, was it late last year or earlier this year, they released a pseudo sequel.
Yeah, on a Pico.
Yeah, a browser-based game
of Celeste 2. Yeah, which is really cool. I'm just really keen to see this eventually because I think they make fantastic games. So
yeah, likewise.
What's next?
Shall we talk about this? This is a surprise. Overwatch director Jeff Kaplan is leaving Blizzard after 19 years.
Huge.
Which is a kind of like a massive deal because Jeff Kaplan, to me anyway, and I think to a lot of people, is the face of Overwatch.
Oh, 100%.
Like this is the dude who he's the face behind all the blog update. What do they call it? Like developer diaries, whatever. The constant updates.
He's always on the videos. Giving news,
He's the one leading the charge in this. And now with Overwatch 2 coming, it's kind of weird that the head of the studio is like, peace out. I'm out of here.
And just the latest in a string of high-profile departures from Blizzard. I mean, you've had the kind of like faces of the franchises of like Diablo and World of Warcraft and stuff like that just leaving. Things. I mean, for a long time, people have been saying things are not right at Blizzard, and this is just another indication of that.
Yeah, I just found So there's this blog post here, which I just found, it's a bit cropped in the video, sorry about that, but I just found it so weird because it starts out, it just says, we want to let you know that Jeff Kaplan has decided to leave the company after a long and storied career here, and that Aaron Keller, a Blizzard veteran and founding member of the Overwatch team, will be stepping in as game director. It just feels a bit like too formal for me, like, oh, hey, he's leaving, here's his replacement. And then you get a whole message from Aaron, the replacement. And only at the bottom, it's like, we're also tremendously grateful for Jeff's contribution over the years. Please see a personal note from him. It's like, that's kind of, to
doesn't
me,
seem
maybe,
like it was like
maybe I'm reading
almost
into it too much, but it feels very much like, surely you'd be like, Jeff was like integral to the creation of Overwatch, this RP, and he's worked on this and this, and we're very sorry to see him go, but it's like, yeah, we're grateful. Like, bye.
Yeah, peace out. Don't let the
I don't know. It just seems so weird to me. And with Overwatch 2 coming out, like, let's say in the next year, if things go out.
Yeah, it's not uncommon to have directors of games leave near the end of development. Sometimes it often happens at AAA studios, but Overwatch 2 isn't close. So I have to wonder what the fuck's going on there. And it already seemed like a weird project. Like the ideas that they were trying to bring to it seemed a bit strange. So I don't know, man. I feel for the I'm not big into Overwatch, so it doesn't really affect me as much. But I know a lot of people who love that game are really like bummed out by Jeff leaving. So yeah.
I mean, look at this. Look at this face. This is the face of Overwatch right here. Gone. Yeah.
And he's such a nice guy. He seemed like I
like him, yeah.
He brought a sense of like warmth to the game. So yeah.
Okay. What is next?
What else? I guess just quickly, Battlefield 6 or whatever it's called will be revealed soon. TM. EA has started like kind of teasing it and saying that they have the biggest team ever working on a Battlefield game, up to 4 teams working on this thing. So definitely seems like the publisher wants to make a big splash with this in the wake of, Battlefield. What was the last one?
It was 5. I mean,
yeah, not like being incredible.
Yeah, I mean, and 5 came out a long time ago as well.
Yeah.
So
it was like 2-3 years ago now.
Shit, yeah, it's like, I think it's 3 years. So it's like, it's time for a new Battlefield. And to be honest, I'm very keen to go back to a modern day setting. Like, I have very fond memories of Battlefield 3 and 4. So I'd be keen to see, those came out like more than a decade ago now, maybe a decade ago, 8 to 10 years ago. So I wonder.
Yes, Battlefield 3 is still so fire though. Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, now what will a modern day Battlefield look like with that good Frostbite engine, that good audio design? Like, I'm very keen to see what they announce.
Yeah, I'm stoked. I mean, I'm not the biggest Battlefield aficionado because like I don't really get along with the sort of multiplayer vibes of that game. But I'm keen for a cool single player thing again. So yeah, Stoked.
Let's see. Microsoft is ditching Xbox Live Gold requirement for free-to-play multiplayer games.
Which
is highly
some time.
long overdue. I know I phrased that wrong, but so for those of you who don't know, if you played a game like Fortnite, for example, or Apex, you needed an Xbox Live Gold subscription for the multiplayer functionality. Whereas on PlayStation games, although I don't know, PlayStation does have an exception on those games, if I'm not.
Yes, so on PlayStation, if the game was like free to play in general, you wouldn't need PS Plus. So like Fortnite and Apex and Warzone never needed PS Plus to play online, whereas on Xbox you did, which made no fucking sense.
Yeah, it's just like it's not an expensive fee, but like 150 Rand a month for a free-to-play game is just like...
Well, it really sticks out when on PC and PlayStation
it's
you don't
free,
need that, but Xbox requires you. So
they've now finally backpedaled on that, and you don't need Xbox Live Gold to play this long list of games, which includes... I mean, like, even these are some examples here that I would never think about, like Warzone. You would need Xbox Live Gold to play that.
Oh, which is crazy.
Fortnite, Killer Instinct, which is also...
remember Hyperscape?
God. Rocket League, like all these free-to-play games where you just take for granted. Warframe, like, oh my gosh, you'd have to pay to play that.
It's weird, though. There's some games on there that are definitely games that aren't free-to-play, and yet you won't need...
I think there's some... Wait, like what?
Yeah, I mean, you've got Resident Evil Mercenaries 2.
Is that on? Resident Evil Revelations 2. Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
You've got things like, I'm just looking at the War Thunder, I think. Okay, no.
War Thunder is...
So Warface is free to play. 2 Human, that makes no sense, but okay. So yeah, I mean, Path of Exile is on there, Brawlhalla. It's good. Like, thank God they finally did this.
But Live Gold is still a thing, though, right? Like, it still exists, but you just don't need it for...
I think a lot of people were expecting it to kind of just like go away and become a thing that you got with Game Pass. And I still think that will happen eventually. But there must be, I mean, Microsoft will know better than any of us. There must be still some people that are just subscribing to Gold and not Game Pass. So, like, to force them to pay more for a service that aren't using, maybe they're not ready to do that. So
it seems so weird to me, though, when it's like, let's be honest, the Live Gold free games every month have not been anything. Like, they've been half-assed compared to what PlayStation have offered. But it's like, the Xbox have Game Pass. Like, would the big announcement not to be like, hey, we're canning Live Gold, but don't worry, like, the Xbox Game Pass costs the same, and like, you can opt in and just keep your subscription. We'll migrate it over to Game Pass, for example.
To me, the best thing is, like, just get rid of Gold. Like, like,
just
require
can
any multiplayer at all.
Well, like, I don't, because all that's really the only offering it has now, outside of games on this list, which do require Live Gold, is the free games you get every month, and they haven't been worth the money.
No,
Sorry,
they've been so bad lately.
They've been like terrible.
I just, it's weird especially when you look at Microsoft's exclusives. You've got things like Gears of War 5 and Halo that you can play online on PC for free, but on Xbox,
but they're not.
You need Gold.
Yeah,
and it's like, even if you don't want to do it for third-party games, whatever, like, it makes no sense.
But your first-party
games, like, it's such a weird, like, conflict of messaging.
Yeah.
When you have this idea of our games are cross-platform. If you buy it on Xbox, you have it on PC, But if you play it on one and not the other, you have to pay for online. It just makes no sense to me. They should honestly just get rid of it.
Just cancel it.
Just cancel it.
And quick news, I guess, let's fly through. Actually, we can't do this quickly, but PlayStation does a full U-turn on PS3 and Vita store shutdowns.
Yeah, rip PSP though, still.
Yeah, so but I love this article. It's like, but PSP still rip.
Yeah, so, I don't think Sony expected the sort of backlash they got for this decision. What was nice is they gave a bit of a context as to why they were doing it. It was like, kind of what people predicted. Legacy systems that are costly to maintain, and take away development resources from newer stuff. So yeah, I don't know how much money is being spent on those stores, but I think from a preservation standpoint, it's really important that they stay up at least until Sony, comes up with a way for games like that to, continue to be able to be purchased on other platforms or playable on other platforms. So, Microsoft gets around this issue where they can shut down the Xbox 360 store because you can still buy those games on Xbox One and Xbox Series X. So until Sony comes up with that, I feel like this is them just delaying the inevitable if they aren't working on a system that will prevent this in the future.
Yeah, so. Well, I hope that at least moving forward, look, I don't know what PS6 and PS7 and beyond hold, but I hope that it's not a conversation we have again in 10 years like, oh no, the PS4 store's going down. It's like, can we just not? Just Xbox definitely have the right approach of our shit just works across generations.
Yeah.
It'll always be tied to your account. Don't worry. So I don't know, like I do worry. I understand with the PS3, for example, because that was just,
that's the whole process. It's incredible how much of a legacy problem fucking nightmare it's been for them. But yeah, I guess they have learned from that in the short term. Like PS4 games work on PS5, and I expect whatever they continue going on
to just carry on,
retain that trajectory.
I hope so. But yeah. And I suppose just sticking with PlayStation quickly, Days Gone 2. We know that the sequel was confirmed to not be in development, but Days Gone fans are upset, and a petition has started, and it has reached 60,000 signatures demanding a sequel.
This won't move the needle at all.
So look, I get...
If Sony says that it was too costly to develop, 60,000 people signing a digital piece of paper is not going to fucking tell them otherwise.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Look, so Days Gone, I wasn't the biggest fan, but I will concede that I think the game had some good ideas that were maybe just not executed properly. And I think a sequel, I would be keen to see a sequel purely because I think there are some good lessons that studio could learn and put into a sequel. But I'm not going to lose sleep over it.
I think it could definitely benefit from, another look at some of the ideas it had. But yeah, whether Sony wants to bankroll that is a different story. I think personally, there's the reports are that Sony Bend is working on a new IP. I would much rather take a new IP than a Days Gone 2. Like if I was the one deciding those resources, I would cut my losses on Days Gone and just be like, cool, let's try something else, completely different, So yeah, I don't think this petition will move the needle, but yeah, we'll see. Who knows? I mean, Days Gone 2 could happen. Doesn't mean that it's never happening. I just think it's not happening now.
No, not in the foreseeable future.
We'll see.
And I guess the last piece of news, Discord reportedly dismisses Microsoft deal.
Yeah, this seemed like it was going to happen anyway. Not because I don't think Microsoft was offering too little. I think they were offering north of $10 billion or something. I think Discord right now just wants to stay independent, and they are looking at a potential public offering in the future. Becoming a listed public company. So I know the report says that it doesn't mean that a deal couldn't be made in the future with Microsoft, just that it's not happening now. So we'll see.
I mean, no loss to me personally. But I do dream of a world where Discord lives as an app on consoles.
Same. So, yeah. That's what I was looking forward to the most, was this would definitely get Discord on an Xbox, which is awesome. And considering Microsoft's acquisitions lately, they've been pretty good with kind of buying a company and letting it just kind of do its thing. Like GitHub and LinkedIn. And we'll see about Bethesda. So I had hope that if the purchase did get made, that Discord would kind of just continue operating as is and just get integrated more tightly into imagine your next Windows installation came with Discord. That's cool.
That's But yeah, that's that. I think no more news. We're all done.